All right, good afternoon, North Penn School District community. This is Dr. Todd Bauer, Superintendent of Schools for the North Penn School District, and I'm very pleased to be with you today in what I hope will be the first of many podcasts, broadcasts, Facebook Live, WNPV radio. Those of you who are familiar with our Facebook Live feed, Mr. Bob Gilmer and I do a segment each month after the action meeting, kind of to discuss the comings and goings of the school district and what happened at the meeting. And that segment has been so well received by, hundreds, if not over 1,000 viewers each month, which is terrific. It's actually award winning if you follow along through the communications professional organization that we tried to leverage that technology and get it on multiple platforms. So in the long run, we hope to see this on the radio, on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and other mechanisms to share with our community, just to discuss things beyond the school board meeting, maybe introduce some new faces, get to know one another, and some things that happen in the moment here in the North Penn School District. So rather than wait once a month, I'm hoping to communicate with you on a more regular basis. And hopefully we will broadcast wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. But the show would not be the same without a friend, colleague, and Mr. North Penn himself. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome to the show, Mr. Bob Gilmer. Bob.
I'm getting I wanted to do a big reveal and I topped myself out there. How are we doing, Dr. Bauer?
It's like you just came out on stage and you fell in front of everyone.
I literally fell down when you introduced me. That's what happened.
I'm doing great. I like the song that you played for the intro there, but we're going to have to talk about the theme music for this podcast.
Yeah. And you know what? I think there's a contest opportunity at some point.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Yeah. We're hoping for live engagement, kind of like a radio show where people can chat in on Facebook Live, maybe send in emails at some point that we can kind of field on the air on the radio waves. But maybe the first piece of engagement could be a little bit of what's our theme song for this show. But the show does have a name, Mr. Gomes. It does. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Educating with ease.
Ease, like the letter E, apostrophe S. And the reason being, 4 E's. So our theme for this year and hopefully moving forward at the start of the school year and at convocation, when we bring the whole staff together, we talk about, what is kind of our mission and vision for the year. Really, what is the theme for the year? And last year we did something maybe against my better judgment, a bit punny, which was Todd Lasso, kind of a play on Ted Lasso. And this year, we tried to really distill things down to the basics. And we went with, what do we stand for? Who are we as an organization? And what do we expect of our students and staff? And ultimately, we went with 4 E's. Those 4 E's are, should I put you on the spot? Are you ready?
Sure. I got it right here. So
cheater. All right, go ahead, Bob.
All right. So we are elevating learning.
We are a learning institution. You start with student achievement and learning. So elevate learning.
We're ensuring belonging.
Everyone wants to feel like they belong, right? So from students to staff to parents, they want to feel like they belong when they come into our schools
community.
And the greater community. Speaking of community,
we will engage the community.
Oh, engage the community well beyond the walls of our facilities and our infrastructure. But the greater North Penn community leverage the resources and the expertise that exists in our wonderful North Penn community. And lastly, Bob,
if we're doing those 3 things, we hope we will be exceeding expectations.
Exactly. So we have in review, and in no particular order, but the first one is elevate learning, ensure belonging, engage the community, and exceed expectations. So when we say educating with ease, it's the letter E, not easy, because we know the world of education is not easy.
It is the last thing that one would call easy. So let's just talk about real quick, and then we'll get into like the bulk of the show here, the big part of the show. It's the 3rd week of school. Dr. Bauer, how'd it go for you?
You know what? It was a great start. Our staff came with energy. Our students came with their smiles and a willingness and eagerness to learn. It really got off to a great start. However, week 2, And this is what I always fear. I see you pulling out your shirt there. We saw on the forecast that the temperatures were not going to cooperate. So we were faced with some really challenging decisions regarding middle schools, because specifically our 3 middle schools do not have air conditioning. And let me put it out there and say candidly, as I have numerous times in public, I wish we did. We do not. And I think the entire community recognizes that those 3 buildings will need to be renovated soon. 2 of the 3 have modular construction, and none of the 3 have air conditioning. But rather than put in air conditioning, which years ago, and we all know what has happened to the costs of construction and work in buildings, but years ago it was estimated at almost $30 million to put in air conditioning in all 3 buildings. So rather than invest that kind of money just to tear it out after we finish with the high school, we're going to renovate the high school, and then we will move on to our middle schools. And the high school project will really give us a firm direction on where we're headed with the 3 middle schools. What's the grade structure going to look like? Is 9th grade going to be in the middle schools or not? If it's not, will 6th grade be in them or not? But what I didn't want to talk about today is the North Penn High School project. Because
that's all we've been talking about for sure. It's important. We want people informed, but I'm going to slide out of the way here. And we get into our new format for educating with ease. Make sure to get the name right. And I'll let you introduce our first guest.
Yeah. So one of the things with the show, as I said at the top of the hour, was we're hoping to kind of bring guests in and share them with the community, a little bit personal, perhaps, and professional, just learn a little bit about some of the great people who work here in North Penn. So
watch me disappear. I'm going to disappear. Ready?
Okay. But I will need a sound effect for our new guest. So maybe it's just our theme song again. Okay. But we don't have that instituted just yet. But let me bring in the new principal, at Inglewood Elementary School, Mrs. Stephannie Hannan. Stephannie, welcome to Educating with Ease with Todd Bauer and Bob Gilmer.
Hello. It's great to be here today.
Happy to have you and excited to have you as the first guest. Hopefully we get lots of Inglewood families to watch this episode, and then they will subscribe wherever they get their podcasts, of course. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Stephannie. Let's start with personal, because that's more fun. Tell us about where you come from, your family situation, and things that are important to you or that you like to do for fun.
Sure. So I am originally from Northern California. That's where I grew up. And I did my undergraduate education at UC Berkeley, and actually took sort of a roundabout way of getting to education. I started out in finance. And one of the companies that I worked for was headquartered in Philadelphia. And so I was working for them, and they, thought it would be best if I moved out here. And I said, sure, why not? I'm always up for a new adventure. And continued to work with them for a while, but really thought that where I was going to find fulfillment in my career was not going to be doing that. So I started looking into teaching and actually joined the Philadelphia Teaching Fellows. And so started my teaching career there. But you also asked me personal, so let me tell you about that. So my husband is a 4th grade teacher in the school district of Philadelphia. He's been there for many years, and 4th grade is his wheelhouse. He loves 4th graders. And I also have 2 children myself. So we have James, who is 11 years old, who just started in his district, started middle school this year. So that was an interesting transition for him. But he's starting to feel settled, and that's great. He figured out the locker. That was top on his priority list of making sure
that's big.
Open and close his locker. So we're all good there. He's figured out where to eat at lunch. So, that's the other big thing. So he's doing great. And then my daughter just went into 4th grade. Her name is Julia. And she's doing great too. She's having an awesome year as well. And then we are now in the thick of the fall sports. So They are the ages where we are going all over the place, taking them from, one sport to another. And so for fall, my son plays fall baseball, and my daughter is doing soccer. And so she had her first soccer game this last weekend, which was great. And then my son, his game got rained out with the rain over the weekend. So he didn't quite get to start yet. but
Got it. Well,
both swimming. So so they are very busy, and that's what. But when we're not doing those kind of things, we love to be outside. So we love going to the beach. We love going to the mountains, hiking, anything that gets us outdoors and moving. We love it. So.
Well, your household sounds very similar to mine. I don't know if you know these things about me, but my wife is a teacher, and my children are in 8th grade and 5th grade, so it's close. Yeah. And right now we are in the thick of fall baseball and lacrosse and field hockey. So my daughter's playing lacrosse and field hockey. My son's doing baseball. We will all transition to basketball and skiing in the winter.
Same.
But it's a crazy time, isn't it? It's just every weekend. It's all you do.
It is so crazy, but I love that they can get active and have fun and learn what it is to be on a team and what that's about, when you're winning and when you're losing. I mean, it's just so good for them to be involved in these things, but yes, it is hectic.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I believe that being an athlete in high school and in college, I was a swimmer, by the way, there's another common thread. I attribute who I am and my work ethic and all those things just as much to athletics as I do, my upbringing, my family, and my schooling. It's a huge part of my life. And speaking of which, so hailing from California, what is your sports professional team allegiance? Are you a Philadelphia sports fan?
Oh, you're going to hate me for all this. I actually don't enjoy watching professional sports.
Okay.
If you quizzed me on the rules of football, it would be embarrassing. But, I'm excited when other people are excited. So.
Okay, great. So you told us a little bit about your journey and working in Philadelphia, and what brought you here to North Penn and specifically to Inglewood Elementary School?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be a part of North Penn. You guys have a wonderful reputation that precedes you, especially around special education and our inclusion models that we have here. I think it's really wonderful work that is happening. And so I was really excited about the prospect of being a part of that community. Prior to being here, I have experience in the Philadelphia School District. I was working as an assistant principal there for several years. And then also for the last 5 years, I was an assistant principal in Lower Merion as well. So I'm excited to be here. I think I offer a variety of different perspectives. I think it's good when you can think about things in different ways and from different sort of contexts that you've experienced them in and bring it all together to do what's best for kids.
That's great. Well, I know you have experience in some other places, and I tend to, in these shows, not mention other school districts by name just because. Oh,
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But I don't, but that doesn't mean you can't. And question for you is there anything aside from what you already listed that makes Inglewood special based upon your experience? So other places you've been, and what have you found to be unique to Inglewood?
Yeah. So coming here right off the bat, I, during the summertime, was able to meet various teachers and staff members that work on different committees. And they were coming in during the summer to work on those committees and make plans for the upcoming year. And so I think I've just seen such a dedication to students and to making sure that we're doing what we can for them and that we're thinking about their individual needs. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot of work around scheduling of staff and really thinking about each student's needs and where we can support students best. And I think just being engaged in those really thoughtful conversations has been really refreshing and right where I think education needs to be.
Awesome. So I must ask, I know that Mr. Gilmer reached out to you about being the first guest on Educating with Ease. Let's be honest with our listeners here. What were your thoughts? Were you nervous about this? Excited? What'd you think?
I was like, oh no, we just finished back to school night. I thought we could kind of slow down a bit, but no, this is great. I mean, it's fun to be a part of. It's great to have these conversations. I want, my school community to really know me and feel like I'm an accessible person to them. And so I think, doing this is a good thing, but yeah, I'm not one to really take the spotlight on purpose. So, I definitely had those initial reactions of, oh, are you sure? But it's
can't you use somebody else?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure,
Mr. Gilmer says that when he is done in his career, he believes that his best accomplishment will be the silly things that he got superintendents to do. So you are part of that now, apparently, because you're the first guest on the podcast. All right. So we heard a little bit about your background professionally and personally. We heard some things specific to Inglewood. How about you give me a hidden talent or two? So something that makes you, so we talked about what makes Inglewood unique. What makes you exceptionally unique? Because I'm sure you have a good story or two.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. That's a tough one. You really put me on the spot with this one. A hidden talent or, I don't know. I mean, I don't think this is much of a talent. I think a lot of people have this too, but I think really like finding the humor in things and keeping things in perspective is something that is a strength of mine. I can tell you that, just being around the school, it's funny when you can see really recognize like a quick wit in a student or that sort of thing too, and really like bring out that in them. So a funny story was like the other day I was walking into the cafeteria and this student goes, "All hail the Queen." And I just thought it was so funny, right? Like it was just hilarious and the timing was perfect. And so, it was a lot of fun to sort of recognize that as being such a funny and witty thing to do in the moment.
Yeah, I think I can learn from that because there are times where I tell myself, like, just calm down. This is not a big deal. Right. Yeah. And I will say on the first day of school, I made a point to stop by. I got to 8 buildings, but I made sure I got to the buildings where they had a new principal. Right. And I ran into you very briefly. You may not even remember. I remember we were talking about shoes. Yeah. So, however, I came back here and was talking to Dr. McKenna, who is our director of elementary. And I told her I got to all the new principals. And I'll tell you, Stephannie was cool as a cucumber. Some people, you go to their building and they're running around and there's all kinds of things that have to be. And you were very calm, and collected. You didn't need me for anything. You were just like, "Oh, hey, Todd," which that was great. We got to have a conversation about your shoes. They were looking great. Thank you. I don't remember that part, but I appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll let you off the hook. I recognize that you have a few things to do, a couple hundred kids in the building. Not being an elementary school principal is a very demanding and worthwhile job. You guys are superheroes. So we appreciate you coming on here. Any last bits of information for the guests of Educating with Ease? No, I want to say thank you to all the families. One thing I've asked them to do is to fill out like an introductory survey. And it just asks a couple questions like, what do you think are the strengths? What do you think are some areas we can improve on? And I just want to thank everybody who's filled those surveys out for me because it just helps so much for me. That's a major goal of mine is to really understand the Inglewood school community and how I can help and support everyone. And getting those surveys back has been incredibly helpful in learning more. So thank you to all of you who have taken the time to do that. And I also want to just give a quick thank you to my staff too. They have been amazing. On the very first day of school, they're greeting me with flowers. I mean, really above and beyond and being thoughtful. Everybody's got a million things on their plate, but they're still thinking of others. And I think that just speaks to who they are as a group. Wow, what a way to finish the conversation here, Stephannie. Thank you so much for joining us on the inaugural episode. And thanks for all the hard work that you're doing. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, Stephannie. Well, you can see there, ladies and gentlemen, and Bob, why don't you come on back in so we can close out this first episode. Hey. You can see there why we were so impressed with Mrs. Hannan during the interview process. Just a wealth of experience and expertise, but also just a good human being that cares about children and people. I know my salutation every time I enter the building. All hail the Queen. All hail the Queen. There you go. We'll have to work on the Philly fandom there. I don't know. It's got to be a Birds fan. If she's not a fan, we can get her there. Yeah. If she doesn't have a team, then right. Yeah, we can bring her into our flock. How about that? I love it. Our nest, whatever it is. All right. Speaking of football, can you imagine being a Jets fan? Oof. They won, but I actually feel bad. Everything else where you have your, I feel bad for the Jets fans. I feel bad. And you know me, I don't feel bad for fans of other teams other than the Eagles and Aaron Rodgers, man. That's rough. Yeah, 4 plays total. Ouch. You really mortgage the future of the franchise to get this guy and 4 plays. And you know what? Not to say anything about 39-year-olds, but he's 39. And to come back from an Achilles injury at 40 years old, I don't know. So that might have been the last of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. We'll see. I just say, look out. I have to say back in 2017, right?
When Carson went down with his ACL, I'm like, that's it. We don't get to have nice things. And then we had nice things. So,
okay, I will say that was in week 14.
I know
this was in the first quarter of the season.
It could be enough motivation for the rest of the season for the team.
All right. So, anyway, as Dr. Kim, our director of human resources, would say, back on the main road.
Yes. Now, normally we would take questions at this point.
Yes.
This is a recording. This is our first pilot. We're trying things out. So we'll try to pay attention to any questions you put here when it gets posted. But generally, we're working on a format so that we can get questions ahead of time. If we're live, we'll do it that way. So questions will come in all different kinds of ways. But for today, we could pretend that we got a question.
We could, or we could just in the first episode and encourage people to like, subscribe, do all those things, share with your friends. And we're hoping to kind of navigate around the district with our guests to try to engage all of the school communities and going beyond, just like we said, with kind of our mission and vision for the year, go beyond North Penn and maybe bring in some community leaders and hear a little bit about some organizations. So any quick plugs for the week, things coming up? I know that the North Penn Mosque has Community Day on Saturday. Right there in the heart of Lansdale, and they welcome the whole community, free lunch, and I believe it starts at 11 o'clock and it goes till 5. So if you're around, if you've never been, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's just a great gathering of people who want to celebrate the North Penn community.
It's an awesome day every year. It's a great event they put on. For North Penn, we don't have a ton of stuff going on this weekend. So got a big board meeting this week. Mm-hmm. We just don't know people see this.
Yeah. I was going to say, we don't know when this episode is going to go live.
So you can watch it on our YouTube channel and youtube.com/NPTV. So I do encourage you to take a look at that. Where we're talking about the reimagining of North Penn High School, not to keep hitting that point, but it's really important people take a look at that. And then, for us here at North Penn Television, we're just excited. We're getting our new crew members starting up. A whole new slew of crew that we're starting to train and get ready for the year. And our first morning show will be this Friday morning at 7:21. So all the student producers are working hard right now to get that show ready for Friday. So that's kind of what we're working on here and internally.
That's great. Well, glad that's underway. I always enjoyed the first episode and excited about what's to come. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Bob, when we have our theme song, this is where it starts to fade in.
I hear it starting. Yep.
But throw those suggestions in the comments. Engage with us online. We'll be in touch. And let's say a week and a half, 2 weeks about the next episode. And maybe we can get some questions in advance for that one. So this is Mr. Bob Gilmer, Dr. Todd Bauer signing off. First episode of Educating with Ease. And I just want to thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.